Et bonjour. Today, in this lesson, we're going to have a look at some French adjectives. We've talked about French adjectives in the past a little bit, here and there. We know that you have to make agreement with the noun, with the word that you are describing. So, adjectives describe if you're talking about a blue car, for example. How are we going to say that? We're going to say une voiture bleue. Oui, une voiture bleue. Bleu would have to have an E on the end of it because une voiture is feminine, you see? So that's what we've talked about up until now, adjectives that go after the nouns that they describe. Let's just look at a few examples. We'll look here. I have une voiture rouge. We just talked about une voiture bleue. Rouge, that's one of those adjectives that doesn't change spelling. You see, it already ends with the letter E, rouge, so you don't have to add another E to it. But bleu, B-L-E-U, that would have to change. That was my original example. So une voiture bleue, you see how I add that extra E there to the end of it. Okay, so another example is un repas délicieux. Un repas délicieux. Or if we wanted to make that feminine, we could choose a feminine word like une pizza, because that's feminine, right? Une pizza délicieuse. Délicieuse, right? Or un livre intéressant. Un livre intéressant. Ou alors une histoire intéressante, right? Okay, so that's just a recap on what you know already. What today's lesson is about French adjectives that actually come before the nouns. There's just a handful of them really that work this way, but you need to know which ones they are so that you don't make a mistake. This is not a foolproof acronym, but I've found that it helps. Bags. Okay, so from now on in our course and all of our lessons, if I say, oh, yeah, but that's a bags adjective, you're going to know what I'm talking about. I say bags adjective, you're going to think adjectives that come before the nouns. Okay, and believe me, I'm never going to stop talking about bags adjectives because you need a lot of reminders, sometimes to remember which ones work this way. So, bags, beauty, age, goodness, and size. These are the ones typically that come before the nouns that they describe. And you're going to need some examples. So that's what I'm going to show you. And of course, there are some exceptions to the rule, as usual. I'll show you just two exceptions today in this lesson. But first, let's talk about beauty. D'accord? Beauty. For example, now I haven't really focused on these adjectives in the past simply because they are bags adjectives, and I didn't want you to get confused. This adjective, beau, of course, it means beautiful. It also means handsome. D'accord? It is the masculine singular form. It's an irregular adjective. D'accord? So if you are using it the singular way, you can look over here on the right. You see un beau tableau. Un beau tableau means a beautiful painting. Okay. What if you're talking about a person and you want to say that that person is handsome? Well, you could say, for example, un beau garçon, right? A handsome boy. D'accord? Okay, so that you notice comes before the noun. Beau in the plural form, now this is masculine plural, B-E-A-U-X, pronounced beau, still comes before the noun, de beaux meubles, de beaux meubles. D'accord? We saw that word meuble in one of our practice cards last week. Do you remember? It means furniture. So beautiful furniture. Now, if you're really paying attention, you might have noticed that de right here, you might have thought, oh, looks like Jennifer made a typo. No, I didn't make a typo. De beaux meubles, why isn't it D-E-S? Well, this has to do with the bag's adjectives. It's another exception, but we're going to talk about it in the very next part of this week's lesson. Okay, so just hold on. But notice that de, and we've been talking a lot about de recently, right? That's one of the reasons why I'm showing you bag's adjectives this week. Okay, so we've got beau, beau, and then we have the feminine form, belle, B-E-L-L-E, belle. Une belle maison is a beautiful house. So that's, of course, the feminine singular form. All you have to do is add an S for the plural form if you want to do that. So what if we wanted to say some beautiful houses? Well, watch what I'm going to do. De belles maisons. There's that de again. Why is it not DES? The suspense. I'll let you know. Remember, I'll let you know in the next video. Okay, so we've got beau, beau, belle, belle, and then look at this one, B-E-L. Look, I'm just going to bring this down to the next page so we can keep everything visible. Okay, B-E-L. We've seen this kind of thing before. Do you remember when we were talking about demonstrative adjectives, all those different forms of ce, c'est, cet? And do you remember when we wanted to say, like, this man? Well, man is and it's masculine and it's singular, but it begins with an H. So we said cet homme, C-E-T. Do you remember that? Let me just show you. We said cet homme. Yeah, because if we say ce homme, then it sounds choppy. So the same thing is true with belle. If you have a word like hôtel, which begins with an H, or another word that begins with a vowel, any vowel, and they're masculine and singular, we're going to use belle instead of beau. Because if we say un beau hôtel, you see how that just doesn't sound right? Un beau hôtel. It doesn't flow, so we don't like that. Strike through. And we're going to say un bel hôtel, okay? Or un bel appartement, un bel appartement. D'accord? Okay, here's another one that falls into the beauty category, and that is jolie. Jolie means pretty. You want to make it masculine, J-O-L-I, J-O-L-I, et au pluriel avec un S. So you want to say, oh, you have a pretty smile. Look over here on the right. Vous avez, let's make a sentence. Vous avez un joli sourire. Yeah, you have a pretty smile. Or if you want to make it feminine, because un sourire, see, is masculine, d'accord? If you want to make it feminine, jolie, it sounds the same way, J-O-L-I-E, still means pretty. Feminine, vous avez une jolie voix. Une jolie voix. Alors, vous avez une jolie voix. You have a pretty voice. There's not that much difference between jolie and beau or belle. D'accord? One means beautiful, one means pretty. The only difference I would say is that when we're talking about beau, see, we would say un beau garçon. It really wouldn't be, you really wouldn't say a pretty boy, right? Just like in English, you would more say a handsome boy or a good looking boy. D'accord? Whereas for a girl or a woman, we would go more with jolie. You see? Okay. So that is jolie. Now look at this one. This is an interesting adjective. Vilain. Vilain. That's the masculine form. V-E-L-I-E-N. Vilain. Vilain. And it means, and it can mean a number of things. It can mean naughty. It can mean ugly. And it can mean nasty. In the sense, for example, un vilain rhume. I have a nasty cold. D'accord? J'ai un vilain rhume. D'accord? That's the masculine form. Now listen how it sounds different in the feminine form. We have vilain, plural, vilain, vilaine, plural, vilaine. So if you have an ugly witch, for example, a witch is une sorcière, we can say une vilaine sorcière. Une vilaine sorcière. So now we get to age. Remember, bags, BAGS, beauty, age, goodness, and size. So here are my examples for age. Now, this list, this doesn't cover all of the bag's adjectives, right? I'm just trying to give you an idea of the categories. Okay, so age, jeune. Jeune means young. And Jeune, that's the masculine and the feminine form. D'accord? Doesn't change. Even the masculine form has an E on the end. So to make them plural, all you have to do is add S. So if you want to say a young student, you say, if it's masculine, you say un jeune étudiant, un jeune étudiant. And if you want to make it feminine, in this case, we would say une jeune étudiante, une jeune étudiante. D'accord? So remember, what we're talking about is using these adjectives, placing them before the words that they describe. So you wouldn't say une étudiante jeune, d'accord? Une jeune étudiante. And by the way, this word for student, étudiant, étudiante, this is going to be older students, d'accord? Not pupils, okay? Here we have vieux. Now, this one has three different ways to spell it as well. It means old, so of course it falls into the age category. Vieux, V-I-E-U-X, vieux means old. It's the masculine, singular, or plural form. Excuse me. So if you want to say an old dog, then you say un vieux chien. Look, let me do it this way. Let me just keep it singular so it doesn't get confusing. So this means an old dog. D'accord? Un vieux chien, and that would be a male dog. Now, if I wanted to say some old dogs, I would say de vieux chiens. D'accord? Some old dogs. And of course, I'm showing you that so that you can see this de. It's DE and not DES, and it has something to do with bags adjectives. Our feminine form, a lot of times people see all of these vowels and they think, oh, this is hard to pronounce. But it's not really. Just listen and repeat after me. Vieille. Vieille. D'accord? So those two L's sound like a Y. V, you have the VI to begin with. V, A, you see that? Vieille, vieille. And that is the singular form, and all you have to do is add an S to make it plural. So the word that you're in your example over here, I'm using the word âme, une âme. Une âme is a soul. So if I want to say an old soul, then I say une vieille âme, une vieille âme. You see how it all kind of sounds like one word? Une vieille âme, une vieille âme. Okay. Look at this word. We have vieux, vieille, and then we have a special spelling once again for masculine singular nouns that begin with vowels or the aspirate H. It's also pronounced vieille, vieille. Okay? But you see it doesn't have an E on it because it's masculine. So if I want to say an old friend, I say un vieil ami, un vieil ami. Or an old man, un vieil homme, un vieil homme. D'accord? We saw this before. Let me just remind you with belle, un bel hôtel, un bel appartement. D'accord? So here we have vieille. All right, vieux, vieille, vieille. Nouveau. Well, that falls, pardon, that falls into the category of age. Nouveau. right? If something is new, then it's not old. So here is our masculine singular form, nouveau. Here's your example: a new world, un nouveau monde. C'est un nouveau monde. Oh, it's a new world. C'est un nouveau monde, right? It's a new world. Okay, nouveau, that's your masculine singular. Make it plural by adding an X to it, to the end. Nouveau, it sounds the same. Nouveau, singular. Nouveau, plural. De nouveaux horizons. De nouveaux horizons. You see how I make that liaison happen? De nouveaux horizons. And yes, you have a DE and not DES before this bags adjective. Okay, and look, here once again, we have an irregular form, nouvelle. Nouvelle, if your masculine singular noun begins with a vowel or an aspirate H. For example, the word ordinateur, computer, is masculine, begins with an O. So instead of saying un nouveau ordinateur, we say un nouvel ordinateur. Un nouvel ordinateur. Or a new man, he's a new man. Un nouvel homme. Un nouvel homme. D'accord? So we've seen this a few times just in today's lesson, these irregular forms for masculine singular nouns that begin with vowels or aspirate H's. Our feminine form is nouvelle. In the plural, all you do is add an S and it becomes nouvelle. It sounds the same way. So if there's a new law, for example, une loi is a law. We say une nouvelle loi. Une nouvelle loi. D'accord? You know what happens if I make that plural. I say de nouvelles lois. De nouvelles lois. D'accord? Okay, bags. Beauty, age, goodness. See, this is your G, goodness. And I'll just tell you, it also has to do with badness. So let's look at the G, the goodness section of our bags adjectives. Well, let's take the adjective good, for example. Bon, bon. Masculine, B-O-N, plural, add an S. C'est un bon croissant. C'est un bon croissant. You remember why I'm saying c'est un bon croissant and not il est un bon croissant? Because c'est un bon croissant, here you have a determiner word. That's from months ago, but I'm never going to stop talking about it. Okay? Your feminine form is bonne, bonne, bonne. So we're not going to pronounce it bonne. Pronounce it rather bonne. Okay? A good joke. That's a good joke. C'est une bonne blague. C'est une bonne blague. There's my c'est again. C'est une bonne blague because I have a determiner word. Okay? Add an S for plural. Look at this word, meilleur. I don't know if you've ever seen this one. Meilleur. It means better. Okay? So if we're living in a better world, we're going to say un meilleur monde. Un meilleur monde. So that's how it's pronounced in the masculine form, meilleur. And the feminine form sounds the same, meilleur. Except at the end, you're going to add a little extra. Meilleur. Sorry, for the masculine. Meilleur. 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 It's very slight. Okay, so here is an example for the feminine, meilleur, a better solution. Une meilleure solution. Une meilleure solution. D'accord? Also falling into the goodness category is gentil, which means nice. So if someone leaves you a nice message, you say un gentil message. Un gentil message. Now, the word gentil can also be used for people. Okay? So, if you want to say C'est une gentille femme ou c'est un gentil professeur. That's the masculine form. Then that's how you do it. Okay, so gentil goes for things and for people to mean that they are nice. The feminine form, gentille. So masculine, gentil, gentille. Gentil, gentille. D'accord? So, oh, that's a nice thought. Une gentille pensée. Une gentille pensée. D'accord? Une pensée is a thought. And as far as badness goes, let's go on and learn the adjective that means bad, and that is mauvais. Masculine, mauvais, feminine, mauvaise. Mauvais, mauvaise. So if you've just seen a bad film, you would say un mauvais film. C'est un mauvais film. That's a bad movie. Look, I thought you would like to learn this word, a weed. We say une mauvaise herbe. Une mauvaise herbe. So that's just an interesting way to look at it. It looks like a bad grass because herbe means grass and mauvaise means bad. But we just say a weed in English. Okay. Okay, bags, beauty, age, goodness, and finally size. So let's start out with grand. So grand can mean several different things. It can mean tall, large, big. It can mean great. You know, he's a great man. um, let's look at this. A department store is really a big store. So we say un grand magasin. That's really how you say a department store. Un grand magasin. That's the masculine. Add an S for plural. Now, for your feminine, all we have to do is add an E. So grand becomes grande. In this case, we're using grand to mean great. You see, a great opportunity. Une grande opportunité. D'accord? And petit, this is again talking about size. So this means small or little. If you want to say a little bit, then a bit is un peu. You say un petit peu, un petit peu. Or the feminine form petite. You want to say, for example, a small spider. A spider is une araignée. Une araignée. Do you see that? Araignée. And so you want to say a small spider, une petite araignée. Une petite araignée. D'accord? What about gros? Gros can mean large, big, or fat. So if I want to give you a great big hug, a hug is un câlin. I say un gros câlin. Un gros câlin. D'accord? The feminine form of gros is grosse. Grosse. And so I want to say, for example, a big whale. The word for whale is baleine. Une grosse baleine. Une grosse baleine. You're going to get a lot more practice with these later in this lesson because you've got your practice cards coming up. Well, you'll see a lot more examples. Again, talking about size. O. H-A-U-T is pronounced O because you don't pronounce the H. And that means high, tall, great. D'accord? So a high level, for example, a level is un niveau. We say un haut niveau. Un haut. I know it sounds hard to get that out, but we're not going to pronounce the N or the H. We're going to say un haut. Un haut. Un haut niveau. Or a high mountain. Here we do pronounce the N because it's got an E after it. Une haute montagne. Une haute montagne. And that means a high mountain. Okay, the word court means short or brief. Okay. So court, if you're reading a short book, un court livre. Un court livre. Now, if you are talking about a person who is short, then that's when you're going to go with petit instead of court for a person's height. If I'm talking about hair, then I want to say I have short hair. I'm not going to say petit for my hair. I'm going to say court for my hair. D'accord? The feminine form of court is courte. So a brief adventure, une courte aventure. Une courte aventure. Long is long, the feminine form. Longue, long, longue. So means long. A long trip, that's masculine. Un long voyage. Un long voyage. Feminine, a long life. Une longue vie. Une longue vie. D'accord. Long, longue. And the last one I'll show you in this category is immense. Immense, of course you can tell what that means. Immense, huge, vast. A huge thanks. Un immense merci. Un immense merci. Or a vast forest. Une immense forêt. Une immense forêt. D'accord? Beauty, age, goodness, size. Bags adjectives. I'm never going to let you forget what that means. Let's look at two exceptions. Well, we talked about beauty, right? Beauty or ugliness, in fact. So the word laid or laid means ugly. And we will put this adjective after the noun that it describes. So masculine, laid, feminine, laid, laid. So an ugly rug is un tapis laid, un tapis laid. Or an ugly dress is une robe laide. D'accord? Goodness or badness, méchant means wicked or mean. So a mean dog is un chien méchant. And a wicked person is une personne méchante. Méchant, méchante. Donc voilà, that's it for this lesson on bags adjectives, and we'll see you soon to talk about using plural bags adjectives and see what happens with de. Merci beaucoup et à bientôt.